There's also a lack of experience with the people and the challenges in the West. We want to remain in our comfort zone. We don't want to experience something else. Let them be. All these are typical challenges of a first-generation immigrant community. But as the second generation arises, they don't have the same views as the first generation. And I'm not speaking in absolutes now. Okay, like I'm not saying all of the second generation are this or all of the first generation are that. Again, this could be stereotypes, okay? Like we have to be genuine also about our evaluation. But these could be things that are sensed by many people and experienced by many people, and we can just keep in mind. So there are some parents who are extremely open-minded. As a matter of fact, in my research, many of the people who are in cross-cultural relationships, they said, my parents never thought that I would marry someone from my own culture anyways. Or some people say, I grew up in areas or I went to school in places where there wasn't a single person of my own ethnicity. So of course I had to marry someone who is of a different culture. So again, research shows that the more parents actually live in North America or in Canada, the more susceptible they are to accept a cross-cultural marriage or to understand, or if their children grew up. But if someone is a new immigrant and they're still going through this transition themselves, where they are, watching Arabic TV all day long and reading Arabic newspapers all day long, or segregated themselves from the Canadian culture at large, they are the ones who would go, and tell their children, why, what did we do to you, where did we go wrong, and, we raised you up as good this and that, and why would you marry out someone from another, culture, ethnicity, etc. And there's the guilt trip, and the heart, and the kidneys, and the liver, and all the ailments start to arise. And here we have to say that we are marrying two families together. Like the decision, as tough as it is, and I know as much as we can advocate that this is the right person for me, things don't come through force. It has to be gentle. We have to convince our parents that this is truly the right person for you. Meaning that you have truly considered all the criteria that we mentioned earlier. Is this the right person for you? Does he or she make you a better person? Will they draw you closer to God? Will you remain within the faith? Are you compatible together? Are the families compatible together? This is a big issue that many parents think about. Will your spouse take you away from God or from the church? What about language barriers? Like, is this other spouse going to be able to communicate with them? Can they tell them a joke and they will laugh? As I mentioned earlier, one of the parents was telling me, like, right after you take a shower, like, you want to tell your spouse, Naiman. Now Naiman is like a joker. Like, in the cards, when you play cards, Naiman, like you can place it in multiple places and it still doesn't mean anything. So when you take a shower, you say Naiman. When you cut your hair, you say Naiman. When you, I don't know, go swimming or whatever, you say that. It's like you can plug it in. Like, who cares if you can tell your spouse Naiman or you don't tell them Naiman? Like, is this the big struggle? But maybe in their mind, like, they're thinking there is no cultural connection because there's some things that you can connect. But you have to explain to them that maybe these things are cultural and are not as significant for you, but there are other things that this person brings into your life to make you a much better person. Many parents want to see that you have gone through the church first. They say, one of the people I interviewed said to me, my dad said, no boyfriend. Don't talk to me about boyfriend, no boyfriend. Okay, we don't have boyfriend, but the idea is that, okay, speak with the priest, introduce them to the church. But I think it will be good if they both go hand in hand. Like we also can be ignorant that our daughter, our son is seeing someone else. So we want to advocate also to the parents to be conscious about this fact and not just reject it. Maybe they're working, on being parts of the church, but it takes time. And we don't want to rush also because you want it to be a smooth sailing. You want the person to be convinced and have enough time to soak in the church. But again, introduction to the church and being comfortable in the church and understanding and knowing that this is a place where we can make our family is really important for parents. They might bring up his or her family status. Are his parents divorced or her parents, remarried? How will that affect him or her? Again, this is a cultural issue that we need to get over and beyond through discussion and getting their blessing. Is that maybe some of our children who grow up in the Coptic Church also have separated parents or divorced parents or single parents, some of these things. These are different circumstances, and we can't always say just because her parents are not together, therefore she will ask for a divorce. No, it's a different generation, different education, different mindset, different nurture, that I believe that if we nurture this relationship, there is a huge rate of success. Much gentle and spiritual communication needs to happen to assure the family and the parents that they are gaining a family member, not losing one. After all, I can assure you that whatever the parents are doing is out of their love for their child. They only have one or two or three, or God bless how many children, and they care for each one of them and they want the best for them, just as the other person also has parents who care for them, right? So they're doing it out of good intention. But again, as a community, we're going through a transition. And it's not going to be a smooth transition. We have to go through ups and downs until we can finally figure out our comfort zone and put our values at the top and say, okay, what is it that we want for our children? We want them to be happy. We want them to be in a functional marriage. We want them to be in a marriage in the church, not far from the church. We want them to bring up the children in the church. And actually, this is what our young adults want too. It's not very far. We're not very far from one another. But some of the other cultural issues are what may separate us. Stereotypes about this person or this person's culture. Education, family status of them, social status, all of these things. These are the things that need to be addressed very kindly, very softly, and God willing, God will open the parents' hearts to understand and accept the necessity of cross-cultural marriages. The last point I want to address is our church ready to embrace and nurture intercultural families? And it's a tough question. It's a tough question. And I'm not going to lie to you, in the interviews that I did, my heart was broken from the comments that I heard, some of the things that cross-cultural marriages had to go through. Again, I'm not going to say that every single church or every single clergy member did not nurture or accept the cross-cultural marriage. No, there were some pockets here and there of people who had good experiences. But the overall feeling of most of the marriages that occurred some years ago ranged from, just ignoring the couple into not believing in them or trying to break them up or trying to set up the person, who's from the Coptic Church with someone else who's from the Coptic Church, and some of the comments that were not just heard from clergy but also heard from the congregation members were disrespectful and demeaning. And I say to myself, why? Why is it that we give ourselves the right to disrespect anyone, no matter who that person is or how different they are from us? When we go out into society, we are a minority. And if we are disrespected in any way, we stand for our rights. and we say that we deserve to be respected. So in the church, the Copts are a majority, and then we give ourselves the right to discriminate against the majority who are outside. Are we retaliating? And is this the spirit of Christ? And why do we let our stereotypes and our racist views control the way that the church conducts itself? I know I could get in trouble for saying these words, but I'm very honest with you, because I want to be honest before God, who is more important for me. That if we don't, as a Coptic community, as an immigrant Coptic community, change our ways and views towards people or persons of other ethnicities or cultures or languages, first of all, God is not going to be happy with the church. There will be no blessing. Because as we read in the beginning, God loves the whole world, not just one group. And in some occasions, we say that there's a special place of our church in God's heart. Why do we think this way? If God loves everyone to the maximum, why do I want to feel that I'm better than anyone else? Yes, I'm faithful in my faith and traditions, and I will keep it and maintaining. But I don't need to put someone else down in order for myself to feel that I'm good or I'm better. How good I am will be determined by God in the last day, not by making others feel inferior to myself. And how would I feel if I'm treated the same way in other communities or in other races or cultures or churches or religions? And that's why my prayer is that we have a change of mind and a change of heart, to be colorblind and not to evaluate individuals based on their race or socioeconomic status or financial status or past experience, but to evaluate them as children of God. Yes, I agree that not every person who proposes to my son or my daughter or to this or that is fit for them. Yes, there are some criteria. If I can see if they're not compatible, I may refuse. But not only based on the fact that they are from another race or culture. This will not work here in Canada. And it's not according to God's heart. It's not the teachings of the Bible. If we are a biblical church, if we are a traditional church, this has never been the way, and we cannot be led by our fears of the past or circumstances or stereotypes. We have to advocate a real change. And this change cannot be a superficial change. It has to be a change from the heart. In Ezekiel, he speaks about taking that heart made of stone, throwing it out, and putting in a heart made of flesh. That heart made of flesh teaches and preaches exactly what they believe. That God has created every single person on the face of this earth in His own image and likeness. And there is no distinction between anyone. And every person has the potential to live a holy life according to God's commandments. And we have so many examples in our church, honestly. And I thank God every single day for our congregation and community. Because this is a living proof. A living proof that we could be a very diverse community and we're all focused on Jesus Christ. From all nations and tongues and tribes and languages. The current challenge which remains before the church is how much should the inherited culture influence its mission in the diaspora? And to what extent can the church assimilate into the culture of its new homeland? There's a beautiful book written by an individual called Lamin Saneh. He's from Western Africa, but he teaches at Yale. Actually, they wanted him to be a president of one of the countries there. And he's a good Christian. In his book, he says, since its origin, the Christian message has been translated into the languages of the nations, and that therefore every culture and nation could be deemed as a valid tool to preach Christian theology. He also explains the ability of Christianity to adapt to any culture that it might exist in by saying that Christianity is parallel to culture, but not proportionate to it, while religion is not culture, but not other than or apart from culture. At a first glance, our church may seem foreign to people who are coming into it. And that's why we need to be compassionate and kind and not judgmental. Because there are many traditions that people coming into the church don't understand. And some of us, when we speak about the Coptic church, we say, the richness and the greatness of the Coptic church, come and taste and see. And then people come and they don't understand. Like, we have to be also modest in our approach to say, let's experience together. Okay? Because, sometimes, again, the whole idea of always superiority or my church is better than, it's not about that. Let's discuss and see what our church offers. Yes, our church is an apostolic church, and we're very proud of that. Yes, our church is the mother of martyrs and the mother of monasticism and the mother of theological discussions in the early church. But unless I can deliver these meanings to someone who is not of the same background in a way that they understand it and they can actually grow through it, then what good is it that I stand and preach how great the church is? And thus, our language needs to change and to be adjusted to a simpler type of dialogue with the community that we live with, that everyone may understand in their own terms how to benefit from this treasure. In interviewing the couples, they came up with 14 recommendations on how the church can nurture these marriages. And this was like more or less like the summary of the interviews. How can we as a church serve you, help you? Based on your experience, how can we actually offer you a ministry that would not only last in this generation, but actually last into the next generation? And as it is already, it's not easy to get accustomed to the Coptic church in this generation. But what about our children? What about the next generation? How will they feel about the Coptic church? This was the point of discussion.